Hello and welcome to another edition of the Tigers Down Under. I'm your host Alex, and with me I have Dan. How are you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Buzzing after what was a nice piece of revenge this morning.
Yeah, I think we probably said it on the podcast last week. 4 points from these two games would have been a great return, or was sort of the expected return. Probably not the order of points that we would have expected. I did actually see someone say, in a way, it's almost better to do it this way around because it means we've taken points off Borough rather than like Wednesday doesn't really matter. So it's like it's better to take the 3 points off Borough because it means now we're closer to them in the table. So I think that's a good way to sort of justify or I guess validate the draw against Sheff Wednesday. It's like it's not all bad. It's not all bad.
Yeah, look, I think it was a game. It was one of those games where we weren't at our best, but we managed to claw something out of it. Probably should have taken all 3 points against Wednesday, but it wasn't to be. And then came out this morning with a very interesting sort of looking lineup, and nicked a goal early, and then just some defensive solidarity sort of held us through. We didn't seem to offer too much going forward this morning, but overall across the last few games, I think we've shown kind of that really sort of different side to us this season. And I think we were talking about last week, sort of those not necessarily championship credentials, but those sorts of characteristics that like the teams that make the top six need to be able to show, which is the ability to win ugly, the ability to get points when they probably don't deserve them, and the ability to keep clean sheets. I think like it's that shift that we've seen in the last maybe like what's it about 6 or 8 games or so, where we seem to be leaking lots of goals for a long time, and then all of a sudden we've got about 4 clean sheets in the last 8 games or something. So I think that sort of defense starting to work itself out and sort of turn a corner, and is a big bonus. In coming into the second half of the season, finishing the year as the most informed team in the championship, finishing the year 4th in the championship, equal 3rd on points with Ipswich, whose goal difference is just slightly better than ours. But like 2 points behind second now, which is, just one of those things that, 24 games ago or whatever would have seemed impossible, unfathomable.
It's bonkers. I think Baz put out a tweet to say sort of ending last year. I think it was also with we lost to Middlesbrough at the end of last year, and we were in the relegation zone, and we're sort of facing that prospect of a potential relegation to League One. To fast forward 12 months to be in this position, I think we're 8 points off last season's points total with 22 games to go or something like that. I think we'll talk Wednesday first, but just on the Borough game, I think looking at that lineup, and then especially when Giles went off and McCarthy came on, it was just the most typical championship sort of result where you would look at that and just go, Middlesbrough should be winning this every day of the week. So for us to come away with the 1-0 win is just shows how crazy this league can be with form. And maybe that's a good segue to talk about that Wednesday game where, in fairness, I saw they picked up a 0-0 draw this morning as well. So they've now got back-to-back points in games, which is fair play from them. But that was that sort of game where you go, we were all guilty of it, of looking at that game and basically penciling in the 3 points from it. I slept through my alarm, actually, so I missed the first half an hour or so, and woke up and we were 1-0 down and just thought, this isn't going to go the way that I expected. It was a full strength lineup. We sort of talked last week that we were going to potentially rotate a bit, rest a few players, but it was full strength, maybe to our discredit or maybe to our detriment that, Baloomi's come out of it with a pretty serious hamstring injury. But it proved to be a tricky game.
Yeah, I think I think last week I said we were talking about injury returns, and I said Baloomi, I still consider him in that injury return, even though he's been back and he's played a few games. And then of course, maybe I cursed him, but pulled up a bit lame, and looks like it's another hamstring tear, another couple of months on the sidelines, which is unfortunate. But I think sort of as we've touched on a few times, I think it's only another handful of games, and then Gelhardt sort of back in the picture. So it is obviously it's a big blow, but I don't like it's not gonna. I don't think it's not a season-ending blow, for the team as a whole. But yeah, the Sheff game was I don't know. It was hard to read because I feel like they came out and maybe as a team we had underestimated them because they came out and they really were playing really good stuff, and they took control, and I don't know. I thought we were just starting to wrestle ourselves back into the game when we conceded like the I don't know. It's close to the worst. It's close to the worst goal I've seen in terms of build up and attacking play and all that stuff. Like it was just like it went to the keeper. He booted it over our sort of high line, and the striker ran through and finished. And like he still had work to do. Credit to him, and it was a nice good finish, but it's just a really shitty goal to concede.
It feels like one that Hughes has been guilty of a few times this season in terms of misjudging that ball over the top. Maybe it's partly on Panda as well with not really knowing whether to come out and press the attacker or stay back. But I'd probably put it more on Hughes in that situation.
Yeah, I think we've seen a few of those in different areas of the pitch as well, where his ability to read the flight of the ball and sort of head clear at times has been questionable is probably the nicest way to put it. I think on the ground, I think he's sensational and he does so much right and he reads the game really well from that perspective, but he misjudges the flight of the ball quite a lot. There's been a few goals where even in the box where there's sort of been a chip or a floated cross to the back post and he's stood, meters, way off where it's going to land and sort of jumped for it and he's missed it by a long way and it goes to an unmarked player at the back post who sort of taps it home. So it's been a few of those sorts of ones, but yeah, it was pretty poor, but I think we responded well. Both times we went down. It was really frustrating. It was almost like we've said before, it's like we need to go a goal behind to really get going. We conceded a goal and then a bit of Balloony magic pretty much. A nice ball from Crooks, but, a great first touch to cut inside the defender and then, just didn't dally on it, just got his shot away. Tucked it away near post, which was great. I thought, it was because at that moment you're going, oh, cool, he's got that goal now. Now he's going to get on a run. He's been playing so well. He's just got the goal. Perfect. Obviously not to be, but and then we should have had a goal right on half time. Like there was a great ball across. Miller comes in at the back post, bundles it over off I think it's off a corner or a free kick or something.
Yeah, corner it was, yeah.
And then the refs, for some reason, called a foul against us somehow. And I've watched the replays a bunch of times. I was looking at halftime at the replays when they were showing it over and over, and I was like, oh, yeah, he's got his hands on him. But it was like 50, like both in all of the there was 3 or 4 different tussles, which I was like, is that the one he's calling? And all of them, I was like, oh, but they kind of both got hands on each other. I don't know, it's our bloke that's been hauled to the floor there. So it can't be that one. And I was like, well, I don't even know what he's called or what he's disallowed.
It seemed like they sometimes they blow the whistle when there's the tussles to sort of say, don't take the corner, I need to talk to the players. And it was almost like he'd blown the whistle to do that, but because the corner's already come in, he goes, oh, I'll just give the free kick to Sheff Wednesday and go on with it, because otherwise he's probably giving a penalty or he's just letting the Miller goal stand, but everyone's kind of stopped because of the whistle. So you go, maybe Miller doesn't score if he doesn't blow the whistle, but he's just put himself in this position and he goes, I'll just give the free kick to Wednesday. And it's like, yeah, it was a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was just something like that. He went, mistimed his whistle blowing, I don't know, but yeah, it was a bit of a mystifying end to the first half, and I think a bit deflating because I think it's kind of one of those moments where if we go in 2-1 up, I think we probably do then just run away. I think that deflates Wednesday. Whereas sort of that goal getting disallowed kind of buoys them a bit. They go into halftime going, yeah, we're still in this, and we go in going, oh, how are we not in front? So that sort of little bit of psychology or psychological impact, I think, sort of affected the second half. And then, they come out. Sheff Wednesday sort of gets control a bit again. We make some changes. They score. And then it's almost the set. Like, it's not much. It's not long. It's only another 5 minutes or 10 minutes after their goal. We go and score again. And then, to be fair to Jurkovic, desperate to win that game, he just throws on all of the attacking options we have. He's shifting stuff around.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, it was a lot like that, and we just couldn't quite get it away. I think the other main one was there was one where I think McBurney wins it up high off the error in the Wednesday backline, and he probably could have done better, but he does. There's definitely some shirt pulling and stuff on him, and the ref just said wave play on, and I thought I don't think it was a pen, because I think it's one of those ones where all of the shirt pulling starts well outside the box. But I think a free kick there and a yellow card to that defender is 100% warranted, because he basically was just not letting McBurney go at all. So there was a few little moments like that which were pretty frustrating. But yeah,
I feel like with McBurney, I noticed it again this morning. I don't know if it's creeping in more or if it's just more noticeable when he doesn't score, is that he does play for free kicks a lot and gets very frustrated when he doesn't get them. And I'm like, that's fine to an extent if you're not sort of play acting too much, because you don't want the ref to get annoyed at you and start to just completely ignore any legitimate fouls that you get. It's like this morning, I think he tried to claim a corner, which to me didn't look like it was even close to a corner, and then got really frustrated. Wednesday, he was like almost just playing for a foul or a penalty at every chance he could get. And I'm just like, sometimes like you don't want that to distract you too much, because I think if he starts getting in his own head a little bit too much about the ref and not getting free kicks, and like I think he did an Instagram post after the Wednesday game complaining about the ref as well. And it's like, I get it, like to an extent, but sometimes you just got to say, just ignore it and just go and play a game, because especially against Wednesday, I just found that like it was almost like he was thinking, this is the only way we're going to get the winner, is if I can win a penalty somehow. And it's like, or you can just try and score a goal.
Yeah, I think, look, admittedly, I don't think the ref had a very good game in the game against Sheffield Wednesday, but I 100% agree that like I felt that McBurney was spending too much time trying to win free kicks and less time trying to be involved in the play itself. Like, it just came to him and he'd go, I'm a bit isolated, I'll try and go down and get a free kick. Oh, they're in my back a little bit, I'll throw myself down.
It's very Delap. Delap used to do that a bit, yeah. There you go.
Oh no, you're so yeah, I thought McBurney was just it was probably his worst performance for us overall. I think like there's been games where when he was first in and he wasn't maybe fully fit or whatever, where he's not as effective, but I just thought he just didn't really even look like getting a goal against Wednesday. Yeah, too much time focused on the other side. And I think like even this morning with Borough, I think there's when Akintola gets a ball when he's still on the yellow card, when he's on the sideline for kicking the ball away or something from the Borough player or whatever. And McBurney wants to go and even then wants to go and argue with the ref about something. And to the point you were making before, like that, those sorts of moments where you go and get yourself involved and the ref now is already like, oh, he's going to argue with me about everything. You then come on the pitch and he's like, well, I'm not going to, like he wasn't even on the field and he was starting to have a go at me. Those 50-50s, he's just not really going to go. I'm probably not going to go your way as much as they probably should. So I don't know. I think he just needs to rein that side of it in a little bit.
Yeah. Massive shout out for Crooks though. And I'll talk about him again with the Borough game, but I thought was probably man of the match against Wednesday, goal and an assist. I think he's really started to pick up his levels the last few games. I almost forgot. I was thinking about it this morning. I don't know what's happened with this shoulder injury that needed surgery. It seems like he's just played through it and it's either healed itself or he's just gotten used to playing with it, because it seems as if he's, sort of back to his best form for us, where, he having someone like him and McBurney together in the team is just such a strong physical presence for us. And we saw this morning when McBurney came on to have that extra sort of out ball. But even against Wednesday, I thought Crooks, admittedly you're sort of playing against 18, 19-year-olds in that Wednesday team, but he's probably just knocking them over like 10 pins. But yeah, I thought it was a terrific game from him and like a really solid finish for his goal as well.
Yeah, I was just thinking like maybe just that week off when he got his 50th yellow card or whatever was enough for his shoulder to have a bit of a break. But yeah, look, I think you're right. He's been one who's really stepped up in the last few weeks. And I'm just looking at my votes for the two games, and he was certainly in my thinking, and somehow managed to get no votes in either game from me. But he was close. But yeah, I think he's been really good. And I think we've obviously started to find the balance of where like everyone's sort of best positions are. Because there was a bit of time where Crooks was the 10, and then he was the 6, and then he was the 10, and then he was the 6, and it's been a bit all over the place. I think even this morning when they were trying to figure out what was going on with Giles, he played left back for a little while as well. So he's a man of many talents.
He's very versatile, which I think helps. Yeah,
I think there was a few really nice driving runs and like lovely bits of skill and stuff to beat players. And I think like when this morning, so I'm sort of jumping ahead a bit, but when you compare him, like what he does driving forward with, say, someone like, and Dala's probably the other one that I would talk about in the same sort of where he great footwork and will make the break and make something happen, but then doesn't know how to then sort of take the next step to keep the play alive. I think Ndala would do some good things, and then the pass would be astray, or he'd try to beat one too many players or whatever. And I think there's the one where Crooks breaks down the left, he rolls it inside the defender who's coming to take him, and then he goes, there's not really an option forward, and then just slows and plays it square. And then I think it might be the one where Amir might gets a shot off or something. But, like just that little bit of composure, I think he does really well. And obviously does a lot of great stuff physically as well. Really hard to win the ball off. So I don't know. I think overall, yeah, I think disappointing that we dropped the 2 points. And I think especially kind of, hindsight, you look back after getting the 1-0 over Borough and you go, is it 2 points dropped? Like if we do get the 3 points against Wednesday and then we back that up with this morning, Borough, we're equal points.
Joint second, yeah.
It's a pretty interesting sort of position. But I think like even so, I think it's hard. I'm probably being a little bit greedy or something, perhaps, looking at it in that way, because I think realistically, like we already mentioned before how sensational this Christmas period's been, how sensational the first half of the season has been, and this year sort of as a whole. So
yeah, I can't get too upset with the Wednesday game because I look at the fact that Ipswich lost to Oxford not too long ago, Coventry lost to Wrexham, for example, like sides like that. You will drop points to teams that you think you should have beaten or a sort of a nailed on 3 points. So it's, you're not going to go through the season winning every single guaranteed game in the same way that winning this morning against Borough. Looking at the lineup, most people, including myself, looked at it and went, well, we're sort of resting players for the next game. Anything out of this game is a bonus. Like we're sort of, it's almost like damage limitation. Don't concede too many. So, and we won that one. So you kind of take the rough with the smooth in that sense. So I kind of look at it and go, I think in hindsight, after the Borough game, it's a very different take on that Wednesday game than it would have been straight after that one. So, can't be too unhappy. They've backed it up with the point this morning, so they're clearly in a reasonable patch of form as well. I guess we just take the point. Like Jukiewicz said, you sort of take the point, you're happy with the point, given the fact that the performance wasn't great. So, no, that's all good. But I'll get your votes from this one.
So I went 3 points to Famowo, who I somehow didn't even mention in all that discussion. Came on, and I thought, like, when he came on, I thought it was great. I thought he showed a lot of composure in that second half. Was strong on the ball. Stepped forward, won the ball, won most of his challenges. I think a little bit culpable for the second goal that we conceded, because he was marking the player that was offside, and I think he sort of lost track of the other defender and just sort of went, "Oh, there's a player behind me. That's fine. He's offside," and then realised a little bit too late. But otherwise, I actually thought he was so good, and I thought that if we were going to go forward at the back, I actually thought that I would back him up over Egan against Borough if that had been how the lineups had come out, but we obviously went for 5 at the back. I went 2 points to Balumi, who I know got injured, but I just thought, again, was in that first period, was, the shining light, the only one who really looked dangerous at all when he got on the ball. And a point to Slater, who I think was really good. Again, I think he's one so much like Crooks, but I think Slater just flies on the radar a lot of the times because he's not as a bigger name or whatever. But I think he's been those two in the midfield. I think especially have been really, really good the last few games.
Yeah, I think Slater's having an awesome season. I went 3 points for Crooks. Thought it was an excellent game. Created the goal. I mean, I say he created the goal for Balumi. Obviously, it was Balumi's touch was awesome in terms of opening up the space for the shot, but also finished off a goal for himself. It did feel like when he went off that was almost similar. Like we'll talk about the Borough game with is it Sene went off for them, where you kind of go as the opposition supporters, you're going, oh geez, it's a good thing that they've just gone off. Like why is the manager taking them off? So I think Crooks going off against Wednesday, whether it was a fitness thing, I don't know, but it did feel like an odd one because I thought he was having a great game. I also gave Balumi the 2 votes. I thought he was really excellent in the time that he did play. And I went Famoy for the 1 vote. Really similar reasoning to you. I thought like he was really solid, good range of passing, good decision making. Maybe slightly culpable for the second goal, but that's more of a collective effort. And I thought as a player that these are the sorts of players that you need in your squad if you want to be pushing for promotion, where they're reasonably happy sitting on the bench most weeks, but they'll come on, they'll do a job, they're dependable. If they have to slot in because of an injury or an absence, in Ajaya's case, he can do that. He started against Borough, looked really capable as well. So, 1 vote for Famoy from me. All right, well, let's talk Borough then. So 4 changes to the side. Like you sort of look at it and you go, okay, so no McBurney, no Balumi, no Miller from the start. Even compared to the last time we played Borough, no Gelhardt either. So you kind of go, geez, where are the goals going to come from if we're going to have much of a chance in this one? It was just like the perfect sort of smash and grab. I sort of said in the chat, it reminded me of the game, was it 2 seasons ago under Rossini, where was it 2-1, I think we won, where Allsop made like a triple save right at the end to secure the win for us. But yeah, it sort of gave me flashbacks to that. But it even more so, like it just felt like they just, as much as it was a great defensive display from us, it did feel like Jukirjevic just set the side up so perfectly to deal with Borough, where they just, like the Wrexham game, it just didn't really feel like we were overly threatened at any stage in the game.
Yeah, I think it was obviously, I look at this game and you look at the lineup and you go, Jukirjevic has obviously taken some lessons. They've analysed the previous, the reverse fixture, and you're going, okay, they tore us apart. This is sort of what they did. What we're going to do this time, is we're going to, set up this shape, do X, Y, and Z or whatever, and it worked perfectly. I was probably, I think, like the same. I was a bit surprised not to see any of I guess either of Miller or McBurney sort of from the start. I thought, but I guess it's one of those things. I think that sort of the Balumi injury, every time one of those like players on the return from injury get on the comeback gets re-injured, I think Jukirjevic panics a little bit and goes, okay, we've overloaded them. Let's give them all a bit of an extra rest. Because suddenly
I'm sure for Miller, it must be so weird for Miller having such a similar injury to Balumi to be like, Balumi got the hamstring injury, then Miller got the hamstring injury. Miller's probably looked at Balumi and gone, oh shit, am I about to get another hamstring injury?
Yeah, look, it's got to this. I don't know. He'd have to be just at least a little bit worried, going. I know I want to start every game, but he's maybe just going, you know what, Gaffer, I might just sit on the bench for the next one. I'm happy to sit and start, sit off from the start. But I thought it was a weird lineup, and I think I was very underwhelmed. I think by the lineup, I thought I was expecting at least sort of a big gun, so to speak. And I guess it's mostly because I probably expected if we were going to sort of rotate the side, it was going to be against Wednesday in the previous fixture. And I thought you'd rest them there, play your big guns in this game, but not to be. But it's all worked out. I think, that Sene or whatever was great for Borough and was posing us all sorts of problems. even just like very early on, and then we went up the other end and nabbed a goal, and it was kind of it then. Like I think they had a couple of good chances. There's one, I think Conway pokes it wide. Oh, Conway like taps, gets a sort of toe on in the 6-yard box and pokes it straight at Panda. There's one that they just put wide, but it wasn't too.
Was it? Someone did have a shot that Panda saved low to his left, which was a good save. Can't remember who it was now, but yeah, that was sort of it.
Yeah, I was because like when I was looking at the the sort of the stats, and it was it was 17 shots to 3 or whatever, which sounds like really dominant, but there weren't like Panda didn't have to make too many saves. I mean, there was lots of really great blocks in there. I think obviously I'm talking all over the place chronologically. We lose Giles really early. Whips a ball in.
I'm hoping with Giles that like because he's wanted to play on, I'm hoping it's just like to your point earlier that Kirovic has just gone, I'm not losing anyone else. Like if you've got any sort of discomfort, just get off.
Yeah, I think it was a weird sort of whips the ball in, gets a bit of a knock, sort of in the attempt to challenge or whatever, and then is obviously feeling it, and sort of they bring the physios on and they assess and they take him off and he does some more like running, and then they just say, no, we're going to sub him. In come Cattle McCarthy thrown in the deep end.
Was really nervous with that after the Blackburn game. I was just like, I don't know how he's going to go in this, but I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, I was. I think when he came on, obviously, like he was obviously just expecting to, sit on the bench and watch the game from the sidelines again. Got thrown on, and I think the first maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, he was a bit nervy. I think he got the yellow card pretty early on, like in his time on the pitch. But I think in the weirdest way, I think that actually settled him down a lot. I think it made him just go, okay, well now I have to, like I can't get anything wrong. And I think he kind of really did. And I thought he was then from sort of that point on, from about maybe 20 minutes into the game, he was sensational. I thought he some great blocks, some great challenges. There's one like on the corner of the 6-yard box that he makes sort of a sliding block challenge on. I'm not sure exactly one of the Borough players, but you're going, oh, this is a good chance, and he slides in, makes a great challenge. So I thought, yeah, he was really, really good. And I guess, like, saying to your point about, say, Familo, where you, like, on the Wednesday game, where it's great to have these sorts of players in the squad who are, willing to, bide their time and come in, they give a performance when it's their time. I think also it's great to see, young kids who are also who, when they step in, you go, okay, we know they can do the job. I know the Blackburn game was not great, but I think today he really showed that he's as capable as sort of any of them. I wouldn't want him to have an extended stint in there at the moment. I think that would be obviously challenging, but for a game like that, where if he's going to get thrown on, I think we can at least trust that he can do the job. So which is awesome. He's one who, in the next few seasons, depending on obviously like where we end up, could become a pretty familiar name for us. I think he's got potential to slot in there. I mean, Egan's in his 30s. As much as I like Hughes, obviously it all depends on where we finish the season and where we end up next season. But like, he's one that, if we don't get promoted, he'll be sold. And then you've got Familo and McCarthy sort of, and Ajayi, who's again in his 30s as well. So you're sort of like, well, he might be, the next Hughes, the next Maguire, the next whoever. So I thought, he was really good. I thought Slater, JB, and Crooks were immense in the centre of the park. JB with the goal. I think Joseph did really well in setting that up. Like, he gets it. He gets around the keeper.
Great turn, yeah.
His angle gets too short, too like narrow. So he does a great turn in a little space and plays it back. And JB with a nice first time finish. And I think pretty much everyone. I thought it was one of those games where everyone just put in a really solid shift. I think even like Ndala, who I was sort of a little bit critical of earlier in the discussion about Crooks. I think early in the game was one who was guilty of giving the ball away too cheaply. But I actually thought he grew into the game quite nicely as well, and was having some better involvements. Later. It was
interesting. Yeah, it seemed like his fitness maybe wasn't there to play out the 90 minutes. He did seem to really sort of start to flag towards the end. And like right before he went off, there was that play where I can't remember who it was. Someone played a really like a sort of a loose ball down that left channel, and Ndala basically gave up on it. And Crook sprints past him to get to the ball, slides in to keep it in play, and tries to play it back to Ndala. And Ndala's like flat-footed and doesn't even sort of anticipate the passes coming to him. and we lose the ball again. And then I think he went off like a minute later. So I think like, I don't know if that's a fitness thing or concentration or whatever it is. But yeah, I think he had a reasonable middle of the game. But yeah, I think he started to flag a bit towards the end as well.
Yeah, I think there were 2 or 3 moments, I think, like that, where we won the ball, we got it into the middle, and then we went to play it into the channel for runners, and the passes were just mistimed. I think that's kind of what happened. It was played a little bit wide and a little bit behind Ndala, and then you're right, he did give up on it a bit, and Crooks then did a big wrap around, went and won it back, but which I think is, I guess that's sort of that he's a man in form, a man full of confidence, and so those are the sorts of things that happen when you are. And Ndala obviously hasn't been playing a lot, so but yeah, I think overall, like, some people are saying this is our most complete 90-minute performance, which I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but I think defensively, I think we did a really good job. We were really, really solid and shut down pretty much everything that they could throw at us, even with losing our left back and sort of having to fill that space, with not a left back. I think even when Miller came on and was playing in that sort of left wing back sort of role, I thought did a reasonable job, good job in defensively as well, and gave us a nice sort of outlet going forward at times. But he's not quite getting it all together. Balumi was firing, and Miller still just is one touch sort of away. I think there was a nice breakdown on the left, and his touch was a bit heavy, and it brings him too close to the defender, and it's just not all quite coming together. But I think he's close, and I think if he does tighten up those little moments, then he's going to be a really dangerous asset and really helpful. Especially when you get McBurney in the middle in the box. If you've got him and Giles ready to whip balls in, I think it's a dangerous proposition.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it was our most complete 90 minutes. I think with a bit of context around the fact that Borough now haven't scored in 3 games, it was 2 games without a goal coming into this one. There was enough there to sort of say that if we frustrated them, I think they were sort of there to get at, which is what we did. But I think with the context around the quality of our lineup plus the early injury to Giles, you could still say it's a really impressive and a really important win. So I think it was really good from that perspective, for sure.
I think when you look at it all, I think the other thing is, like, I think I was saying in the chat that while like our results lately have all been really impressive, we're picking up lots of wins. We played Millwall, who in the midst of their injury crisis, with like they have like 8 centre-mids in their squad, they're all injured or something like wonky. We played Borough. I think Jones pulled out before kickoff. Like they've lost. McGree came back just when we played him last time, and he's out again now. Like lots of they're suffering with quite a few injuries. I think that Strelic or whatever, their other striker that scored against us last time, was out as well. So there's obviously like some mitigating factors for Borough's sort of drop off, but you're right, like it still was a really good performance, and it's good to get another clean sheet. All of those things just slowly tick that goal difference up into higher in the positives. It's nice to actually be in the positives again for a change.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, well, I'll give my votes first for this one. So I, again, actually gave the 3 votes to Crooks, so 2 games in a row for me for that. Again, yeah, I thought he was excellent in midfield. And actually, funnily enough, all 3 of my votes are for the central midfielders. So 3 votes for Crooks, 2 votes for Slater, 1 vote for JB. Yeah, 2 votes for Slater. I thought he was excellent again. He's having a really impressive season. It's a funny one because it sort of shows like he was sort of a central part of Rossini's team that almost made the playoffs 2 seasons ago, was sort of poor in the Volta system last year and everyone was quite critical of him. But now he's also a central part of this team as well. So it sort of shows, in my mind at least, like with his versatility and his sort of reliability and durability, I think like he's a really sort of important player to have. You saw late in the game as well, Coyle went off and he filled in at right wing back as well. So I think the fact that he can fit into those positions is a really important one. And then, yeah, 1 vote for JB for the goal, but I thought as well, I mean, he's had a couple of chances to start games. Some of them he's not looked great in. Some of them he's looked really good in. So I think the Wrexham game and now this one, I think he's had really excellent games.
I think it's the away. It's the away shirts. It's the blue shirts. I think that does it for JB.
Yeah.
I think these 2 goals have come in the blue shirts. I think so.
Yeah, true. Because what was it? Was it the Stoke game that he scored? Which game was it? What was the other game he scored in? I think it was at Stoke. Did he get the 3rd? No, Norwich. Was it? I can't remember. But yeah, I think he's had a couple of good games for us. And then what were your votes?
I'll go back to the page that they're on. So I went 3 votes to Slater, who, for all the reasons you just said, I thought he was outstanding. I think Burnsy was saying, you can't touch the microphone. Burnsy was saying making a bit of a joke about because they kept saying, and here's Slater again or something. Like he just kept popping up and receiving the ball and winning a tackle or whatever in the early stages. And so they just were making a bit of a joke of that. But so then I went 2 votes to JB, who sort of got the winning goal. I thought had some really nice stuff, involved in a lot. The midfield 3 were sensational. I feel really bad for Crooks because he's missed out on my votes again. Because I just thought I couldn't go past McCarthy for a vote, who I just thought was who was thrown in the deep end, and just performed really, really strongly.
Yeah, I was really tempted to give McCarthy a vote. I feel bad not giving him a vote, but I just thought that central midfield they were all excellent performances. I couldn't pass those up. Okay, well, let's wrap things up. We'll talk Stoke and Watford collectively. So we've got Stoke on, I think, the night of New Year's Day. So it's morning of the 2nd, and then Watford a few days later. Watford, all of a sudden, one of the form teams in the league as well, up to 6th in the table. Stoke, on the other hand, were 2nd the last time we played them, and now they're down to 10th in the table. Lost this morning to Sheff United, where they had a sending off in Ben Pearson. So they're probably struggling a little bit with confidence and numbers as well. And Watford, on the other hand, doing really well. I saw that they got a last-minute winner against Norwich this morning, assisted by Aaron Kunda. So he's coming back into a bit of form for them as well, which is it's pleasing from an Australian perspective, not so much from a City perspective. But sort of as we were saying in the chat this morning, I think these are 2 really interesting games from the perspective of, we're already starting to look at the fact that we're 4 points clear of Preston, I think, in 7th. But if you're starting to get a couple of wins or results against Stoke and Watford, I sort of said it last week with the Arsenal comparison of saying, like, you don't need to be sort of smashing teams at this stage of the season in the position that we're in. It's more just about starting to grind out results, keep the points ticking over, pick up a win against Stoke and draw against Watford, and all of a sudden you're sort of sitting there either still 4th in the table or potentially higher. And starting to put a bit of a gap between us and the positions outside the playoffs. So I feel like it's sort of a broken record at the moment, but I just keep thinking, 4 points from these 2 games, and I'll be pretty happy.
We want to see your butt.
Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying, I just feel like 4 points from these 2 games, and I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable request. I think, expectation. I think. It's kind of one of those things like we are in such a good position. You obviously want to keep getting points from every game. And you don't necessarily want to drop points because we are like, if you only drop points, that gap that we're sort of the buffer we're building gets a little bit smaller. But I think 3 or 4 points would be acceptable. I think when we've got 4 wins and a draw from our last 5 games, to an extent you can be forgiven for a poor performance, or you can be forgiven a loss occasionally. But yeah, I think 4 points. I'd be hoping for 4 points at least. I think if we can do the double over Stoke would be awesome. I think you Watford sort of building some form. I think they're only in the form table only a point or 2 behind us or something at the moment. So they've got 3 wins and 2 draws or something. So they're doing really well at the moment. And I think even we know from when we played them last time, like that they are. Even then, when they weren't in the best form and they were pretty inconsistent week to week, they were, they still had some really dangerous players. That midfielder, is it Loser or something?
Loser, yeah.
Yeah, it was, was really good against us last time. So, and if you've got Aaron Kunda getting back into some form, we know as Aussies that he can be pretty dangerous. So I think they've got a lot of assets that I can call on. But yeah, I think 4 points from the next 2, I'd be pretty happy again. It'd be a pretty good start to 2026. I think it'd sort of consolidate that position in the top 6 for at least another week. So
yeah, I think it's going to be interesting in terms of lineup with Giles if he's potentially injured. I think it would open the door to potentially a shift to in my mind at least, a 3-5-2. Where we saw Miller this morning at that left wing back role with Balumi out as well. I wonder if that is almost like the natural way to go, where you go Balumi at left wing back, Coyle at right wing back. Maybe you throw a Crooks up top with a McBurney or a Joseph up top with a McBurney, depending on the best sort of chemistry there. I'd probably lean towards a Crooks, to be honest, because I just think having that physicality up top would be really, really important. But it does seem as if, especially now that we've got Famewo looking pretty good, you've got McCarthy as sort of a reasonable 4th choice backup behind the Egan, Famewo, Hughes back 3. You have McCarthy sat on the bench as well. I almost wonder if that's the best way to use the players that we have available at the moment. And it's kind of crazy. Like, we keep seeing these big injuries and having to chop and change how we line up, and we keep sort of rolling with it. But I think Miller played wing back for Preston when he was there, so I don't think it would be too unfamiliar for him. I don't know. The only other option, I guess, is you have Famewo slot in at left back, but I just don't know if that's the best use of him.
I have unmuted. Good. Look, I think the lineups are going to be a little bit interesting. Obviously, really depending on what the outcome of Giles's withdrawal ends up being, whether it is like an actual injury or whether it was just a precaution. He took a knock and they went, let's not risk it. Which hopefully it's just that. Hopefully they just went, what? He's played a lot of minutes. We can't afford to lose him. He was hobbling a bit, so we just thought, we'll just give him the rest and get him rehabbing straight away, because it's another quick turnarounds and all that sort of stuff. Because by the time we get through to this weekend, it'll be 4 games in about 10 days or something.
Yeah,
it's been a bit crazy. So there's a part deep inside me that just thinks that that's what it is. That it was just, they just went, let's not risk him. We need him. We've got 2 big games, another 2 big games coming up. We can try and get the point. We play him here, and maybe we lose him for months again, like has been with other players. So I think Jurkovic is getting a little bit more conservative with some of those sort of injury threats or injury sort of related moments where he just goes, I don't want to risk these anymore, which is fair enough. I feel like we've had a pretty rough run, but as you say, somehow still just kept rolling on and picking up points, even through sort of the worst periods. Like, just crazy. But I guess I'm just trying to think, because no one's.
I think Lundstrom's the other one back soon. I was just thinking that. So if you had Crooks pushing forward, then you've got a space in midfield for Lundstrom as well, which probably works well.
Yeah, I think he'll be a good one to have back. And it'll be, I think, because everyone's going so well, it'll actually be perfect because we won't have to. I feel like there was when he came back before he had his sort of few weeks off, came back, and we sort of slotted him straight back in and sort of rushed that a bit, and then sort of, it was, now he's been out for another stint. So I think everyone's going so well. I feel like you could trust Slater and JB to sort of work the mids for a bit at least, hopefully, and Amir, like, sort of swapping in and
Yeah.
out. But
I was just remembering though that actually Lundstrom last appeared against Stoke the previous time, so I'm sure the Stoke fans would love to see him back on the pitch if he's fit enough to start against Stoke or come on against Stoke. That'd be good.
yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, you've got, like, Palmer is back as well, and got on the pitch this morning, so he's someone who could slot into sort of the number 10 or something potentially. If you did want to push Crooks up alongside McBurney or something. I don't know. I think I'm kind of at a point where I'm happy just to defer to Jukovic because he seems to be getting it right most weeks at the moment. So
yeah, no, for sure. Well, then, as the last thing, score predictions for the two games, if you've got any thoughts.
Let's go 2-0 against Stoke and a 1-1 against Watford.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking, maybe a 0-0 or a 1-1 with Stoke. I just feel like they've got a good record at the MKM. We seem to always win at their place. They always seem to win at our place. Or I remember being there for a really drab 0-0 in a home fixture against them. So maybe it'll be a 0-0 again. But maybe it'll be a 1-1. And then, I'll edge us against Watford. I might say a 1-0 against Watford, which would be a good return and give us a bit of breathing space against them in sixth. But look, it's crazy to be sat here, 4 points clear of seventh. I think I tweeted out a little bit before that I'm approaching the point of thinking that if we don't make the playoffs, I'll be disappointed. I think the injury record is sort of tempering me a little bit, where I just go, the personnel, like, surely the wheels fall off at some point, but we keep picking up points. We just keep going 2 points off the automatics. You go, we're really in this. We just kind of keep going. So maybe it'll get to March or April and we go, okay, like, we actually have to start thinking about this quite seriously. But very exciting and a good way to finish off 2025. As you said, like, it's a very different feel to how it was 12 months ago.
Yeah, look, I know you tongue in cheek sort of said that you'd been looking at flights for around the sort of playoffs time and looking at a trip to Wembley. I couldn't help, well, that too. I couldn't help my mind drifting a little bit. So I was like, oh, maybe, could the Tigers go on? Could Tigers Down Under go on tour?
I'm imagining. Yeah, I think I said that in a chat tonight. We all get on the same flight. We can do an episode from midair. We can, go,
meet up with the Tahalan back boys.
Yeah, that's right.
Have a live crossover.
I mean, we'll have to see if Arjun is happy to foot the bill, but we'll see what happens when we get to May, I suppose. No, look,
we'll send him an email. We'll do a one live from the MKM.
That's right. That's it. No, but final episode of 2025. Thanks for what's been a terrific year for the podcast, and at least survived relegation, challenging for promotion now. It's been a reasonable year on the pitch for City as well. So no, thanks for everything for the year, and all the best heading into the new year.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure, especially this season. The second half of 2025, the podcast's been a pleasure to be on because we're talking about more wins than losses, and daring to dream. So it's been nice. So I guess same to you for the 2026 and your little family and everything as well. So
absolutely,
yeah.
Well, too easy. And look, and thanks everyone for listening in as well. We will be back next week to talk Stoke and Watford. Have a happy new year to everyone from us here at the Tigers Down Under. Until next time, come on, City.